Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first video on this channel of many, hopefully, right? Um, so, for the first video here, I did want to rank my top 10 NFL quarterbacks, not going into it because this list would be totally different, but who I think is going to do the best just over the course of the season. And I'm not using a script or anything like that, so if I say or anything like that, don't get on my case too much. It's just me kind of saying what I'm thinking on the fly here. But just take this at face value. Not your favorite quarterback might not be on here. Like Drew Lock's not gonna fucking be on here, obviously, right? Because I don't think he's gonna be that good. He's not even gonna probably play too much either, right? Or Ryan Tannehill, I don't think he's gonna be a top 10 quarterback, right? Spoiler alert, I know, but just don't get your panties in a twist, right? Because this could totally change. It could easily change. And Ryan Tannehill could be the best quarterback we've ever seen and throw 70 touchdowns, right? But you never know. Okay, so let's get this list started off. So for number 10, this one's going to surprise a lot of people. I know that. But I am going to have Joey Burrow, um, the handsomest man in the NFL. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in this league. And it might be a little bit biased, but I think he's gonna have a great season. Does have a little bit of kinks he probably needs to work out, and that he's not gonna be able to until he gets a full season under his belt. But I do think he's gonna play great this year, and I'm gonna predict their stats. This is gonna be very wrong, I know that, but this is assuming his lineup is healthy and that his players are gonna play like his receivers are gonna play relatively well. Um, and hopefully Zach Taylor doesn't let Joe Mixon run the ball too much because I would love to see Joe Burrow sling that thing. But let's go into the stats here. I do think he's gonna have around 34 touchdowns. This could go down, but I really don't think so. I do think that's a pretty good number for him. 4,000 yards might be pushing it a little bit, right? But just this extra game this year, I could definitely see him getting the 4,000 yards. 9 interceptions is a little bit high, obviously, and this could go up or it could really go down. It most likely is going to go up if anything. Just I don't think he has really an elite receiver on his team yet. Tyler Boyd is not elite. I don't care what you say, and neither is T Higgins. But Jamar Chase might be something really good. Um, his rushing numbers might be pretty good as well. Maybe 400 yards, 300 to 400 with like the three rushing touchdowns. Just because his offensive line is absolute dog shit, so he's gonna have to be running around for his life. But we'll go ahead and move on to the number 9 quarterback. I don't like I said this. He's very up in the air for me. This could be, someone like Ryan Tannehill, right, or whoever else. So number 9, I am gonna have Matthew Stafford. This is also a bit of a toss in the air. He could easily get out of this list. I'm just having hope that he's gonna play pretty good with this new system with Sean McVay. I wouldn't have him in here if Cam Akers was healthy. Was healthy, sorry. Um, but I don't think they're gonna have a very prominent running game. I don't think their line is that good either. Andrew Whitworth is definitely gonna take a step down, and Matthew Stafford could easily take a step down as well. Um, but yeah, I don't think Sony Michel is really gonna be running the ball too well, and so they're probably gonna be passing it quite a bit. But yeah, like I said, he could be even higher, honestly, but I just don't really think he has that it factor. He can't really move around as well as he used to. He never really could, but he did it at an okay rate. I do think he's gonna have 39 touchdowns, and that is quite a bit. But it's just he's gonna have the ball in his hands, throwing it like I feel 90% of the time, right? That's how that's gonna work. His yards might be a little. They could be way higher than this. Honestly, I could see them upwards of 4,000 or 4,700. They could be way up there, right? But it's just I'm just this is just a base number. It could go higher. I don't think it's gonna go any lower than that unless he gets injured, obviously. Excuse me. But I do think he's gonna have 12 interceptions. He is kind of a gunslinger, right? So I do think he might make some one-on-one risky type throws, and that's not going to be too good for him, especially with people like Jamal Adams. I don't care. He's an amazing safety still, right? And then there's Buda Baker, and who he has to play twice a year, so that's not going to be any help for him. Let's go back there. But moving on from him, we have number 8. This player is a bit interesting to me. I am going to show more stats because he's not just a good passer, but also a pretty damn good runner. And that's Kyler Murray. Um, I feel like he had a really good season last year. I don't think some people are predicting that he's going to win MVP. I don't think he's ever going to be at that level, but I do think he's a top 10 quarterback, or he can be a top 10 quarterback. Um, but it just all depends on him. His throwing over the middle is not so good. He can throw pretty well, right? Like for his size, but just over the middle, he can't really see over the lineman too well. So I feel like that's a problem. But if he's able to develop his mid accuracy or his throwing in the middle, whatever you would call that, then I feel like he can be a very good quarterback. I do think he's going to have 35 touchdowns. That's pushing it, I will admit. But they also really don't have a good running game. I think Kenyon Drake is their right. Kenyon Drake or Connor, whatever his name is, the guy that played for the Steelers. But I do think he's going to have around 4,200 yards. That seems like a pretty accurate number there. And 7 interceptions. That's not too high. But I do think he's going to have around 800 rushing yards, which is really fucking high, obviously, and 9 rushing touchdowns, which might be pushing it a little bit. But no, I feel like this definitely is going to be a career year for Kyler Murray, just because he's another year under King Cliffsbury. But I don't know. It's hard to predict because I don't think Cliffsbury is an amazing coach, honestly, and that offensive line is really going to hold this team back. But I guess we'll just have to see. Number 7, another rushing quarterback or another running quarterback, Lamar Jackson. He's kind of low for a lot of people, and for some other people, he's too high. But I'm praying to God that he develops his passing game, because if he does, he's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, right? He doesn't really throw for a lot of touchdowns or a lot of yards, but I feel like he's going to take that step this year with this new receiver on his team that they drafted from Minnesota. So I'm fucking praying, right? I do think he's going to have around 34 touchdowns, which is not bad for him. He had 26 last year, I think. 3,200 yards. That's pretty good for him, right? That was around his MVP season. Like those two stats are around his MVP season stats. But like I said, he just doesn't throw the ball a crazy amount, or he doesn't get a lot of yards in the season. 7 interceptions. This most likely is going to be higher. I could see it upwards of 10 or 11. 1,000 rushing yards. That's pretty basic for him, I would say. Not basic for anybody else, but for him, I think that should be easier, or really easy, especially with this extra game and 6 rushing touchdowns. He doesn't really get a lot of touchdowns on the ground. But yeah, no, I'm really hoping that he just develops his passing game, because if he does, he's going to be an amazing quarterback, and it can easily be number 2, or one's pushing it. Number 6, Tom Brady. I would have him higher, but it's just, if I had the option to put him or someone else above him on this list, I'm picking the other person, just because I feel like he might take a step back this year, just a tiny bit, not an incredible amount. I know that's ridiculous to say. He's like turning 44, and he's barely taken any steps back. But there has to be a time when it comes, and it's most likely going to be this year, if any, right? Or the next year, whatever it may be. But no, I would rather have these people above him more so than him, even though he's the best quarterback of all time. Is the GOAT. I don't think you can really say anything about that. Just his IQ, his awareness, all that stuff. But I am gonna guess. Let's guess his stats here. 36 touchdowns, a little bit less than last year, but this is just because they do have a very prominent running game, and I think they're gonna be able to utilize that a lot, so he's not going to be able to. He's not going to have 40 or something touchdowns like that in the season. 4,500 yards. He is going to be passing the fucking ball a lot. Another year, and this offense, he should be start going out the gates, slinging that thing right. Not like last year. And 4 interceptions. He's a very smart quarterback. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but this could go upwards of 10 or so, right? But we'll move on to number 5 here, and that is Russell Wilson. Excuse me again. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's like 12 in the morning. I do think people overrate him a little bit. Same with the Seahawks in general. I saw some people putting them as their Super Bowl in the Super Bowl last year, and I thought that was ridiculous. Um, but no, Russell Wilson's on here. I'm not going to show his rushing stats because they're also not very prominent. He's just more of a elusive guy. He doesn't really run too much. I do think he's going to have 37 touchdowns and 4,600 yards. He does throw the ball very well, but those interceptions I feel like could be upwards of 15 even, right? Because he's kind of a gambler and just throws up the ball sometimes and it gets picked off or he makes stupid decisions, whatever it may be. And that offensive line in front of him is not helping him at all. It's not going to either. So that's very surface level on him. There's not really much to talk about. Number 4, I do have Aaron Rodgers. I know this. I hear the fucking boos coming in already, right? He played amazing last year and totally deserved the MVP. But do I really trust him to go back into that form? No, I really don't. His offensive line got worse. He only has Devontae Adams. I'm not trusting Randall Cobb or Valdez Scanting to fucking catch the ball, right? Like, they suck. I hate to say it, but they're not very good. Unless one of those guys takes a leap, then I don't see this team being as well as people think, or Aaron Rodgers, just in general. I do think he will have 38 touchdowns and 4,200 yards. It's just, that's obviously really good, and 5 interceptions. That's like good season, but it's just not an MVP season, right? And so we'll go to number 3. But yeah, no, before that, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to take a step back this year. This is probably his last year playing in Green Bay, or football in general, right? He might just be content with this last season. But yeah, number 3, I do have Josh Allen. He's a bit of a wild card, right? Last year could have totally been a fluke. It honestly could have. He has very questionable decision making. He has an amazing arm, probably the best in the NFL, honestly. His accuracy is okay. It's pretty good. He's made some crazy throws, and also, like, what the fuck, what kind of throw is that as well, right? And he also is a pretty big rusher as well. Like, he can also run the ball, but I did not include that because it's just, I do think he's going to have 40 touchdowns and 4,500 yards, an improvement from last season, but 8 interceptions because he is a very questionable decision maker, and I don't think that's going to get any better. He's kind of like a Brett Favre type of player for me. He's very good, but sometimes he throws a lot of fucking interceptions, right? I would put down his touchdowns if they had a better running game, but their running game is one of the worst in the NFL, if I remember correctly. So I don't think. So that's why his numbers are a bit more inflated than they might have been usually. Number 2, this is my MVP right here. This is the person who I think is going to win MVP next year. And I know, why not have him at number 1? I don't think he's the best quarterback. I just think he's going to play the best, and his team's not going to do better, but he's just going to play the best. And that is Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is going to take a huge step forward this year. I know I said Joe Burrow is, I don't think he's better than him, obviously. But I do think Justin Herbert he has the experience over Joe Burrow, right? And Justin Herbert is a lot better of an athlete than him, with a better arm, all that. But I am going to guess Justin Herbert's stats here. I think he could have 48 touchdowns. He could get really close to 50. With Austin Eckler there, who I feel like with this new coach, they might not run the ball too much, honestly. They might. I think he was the defensive coordinator for the Rams. So he might be a more run-centric coach. But I don't think you can really do that with Justin Herbert. I feel like he might just be like, here's the ball, Justin, throw it. to Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, whoever it may be, right? And with Rashawn Slater on this team now, I feel like this he's gonna be able to stay in the pocket for a little bit, and with Austin Eckler, like I said, he's gonna be more of a receiving option, hopefully, because he's an amazing receiving back and could honestly play a slot fucking receiver. But yeah, 48 touchdowns, 4,900 yards. This could be 5,000 with this extra game. You never know. 11 interceptions. I don't think his receiving core is amazing. Mike Williams isn't some crazy receiver like Keenan Allen, so I could easily see it getting picked off a couple times. But no, I do have him as my MVP this year. And number one, before we get into number one, I do want to put in some honorable mentions here. Baker Mayfield. The reason he's not on here is because the running game is too prominent, and I just don't think he's going to have an amazing season. Ryan Tannehill, I think he's very overhyped and not as good as people think he is. Kirk Cousins, he played amazing. I don't care what anybody says. He played very well. It's just, like I said, Dalvin Cook being in there, Kirk could easily be number 10, right? And is there anybody else? I don't think so. I mean, I guess you could put Trevor Lawrence, or no, not Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, because I feel like he's going to play very good this year, but I don't. I want to consider him a top 10 quarterback, obviously. And number one is obviously Patrick Mahomes. He's the greatest quarterback to ever play. He's above Aaron Rodgers. He's not the GOAT, but I just mean like the most skilled quarterback. Like, no one has done what he's done before, except close is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's going to win MVP. I think Justin Herbert is. It's fan vote, right? I think so. But usually they vote on the newer guy. They don't want to see multiple time MVP like in a row, right? But Patrick Mahomes, I do think he's going to have 43 touchdowns, a little bit less than some might expect. He's not going to get 50 touchdowns. I don't think there's any way in hell he can do that. That's such a hard thing, and I know I said Justin Herbert might be able to get it, but it's just 50 touchdowns is fucking insane. 4,700 yards, quite a bit. I feel like it could go down a little bit just because I feel like they might try and incorporate their running game a little bit with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they might be doing fucking some little passes or shovel passes to Tyreek or, whatever it may be. And only 5 interceptions. He's probably the safest quarterback. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. But that's it. That's my list. Please comment down below if you guys disagree or whatever it may be. And if this gets enough love, then I'll post some other stuff. Just leave it in the comments. And thank you guys.